Hello everybody, welcome to the Ever Vigilant podcast. This is a Commute Cast. The sound isn't good and it'll probably be unedited, but I hope you enjoy it. If this is the first episode you've listened to, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy the podcast. If you're coming back for more, thanks to you too. So I hope you all enjoyed your 4th of July. I sure did. Was able to go fishing with the kids for a little bit and go on a day hike with the kids and just spend some family time is always important and at the top of my priority list. But I was also able to spend a little bit of time looking back because the 4th of July is not only Independence Day for our great country, it's also sort of our family's Independence Day because it's the weekend or the day that we celebrate when we moved out to our homestead, when we moved out to the rural area, where we moved out to the country to kind of get away from the suburbs and our old way of life. And it's kind of our own family Independence Day. And it's the day we started our new adventure and a new chapter in our lives. So I was looking back over what we've done, what we've accomplished, and started writing some stuff down and was quite surprised and quite pleased with ourselves on how much we've done and how much we've accomplished and how much work and effort we've put in on our little piece of property. And I think it's very important, especially for people that are always pushing, always moving, always trying to push the rock up the hill, that we take time to look back at what we've done, what we've accomplished. Not only to give ourselves a much needed boost to keep pushing that rock up the hill, but also that we know that we are also moving in the correct direction, that what we are doing and the things that we have done line up with our goals and line up with where we actually want to get to. So I was able to spend a little bit of time writing some things down, trying to look back. And in the 2 years we've been there, we've added goats. Got 4 goats right now. Should be getting 2 more goats by the end of this month of July. We have chickens and we have ducks, and we added dogs and cats in, and lots of trees. We've planted a lot of trees on the property. Probably 50 or 60 trees and another 50 or 60 different fruit bushes, and plus doing gardens and just kind of planting a lot of flowers. My wife has spent a lot of time planting flowers and working her flower gardens, and all those things are great, and all of them fall into place on a bigger plan that more and more each day gets solidified in my mind of how we can work out different things on the property, how we can make different things work better for us, how we can come up with better ways to rotate our animals, our goats on a weekly basis, which areas we can use for pasture, how we can expand our pasture areas, how we can make our pasture areas do better. So as we spend this time looking into this stuff, I can't help but feel, though, that the bigger accomplishment, even bigger than all these trees, all the planning of where trees were getting planted, all the animals, all the taking care of the animals, keeping them healthy, all of collecting eggs and all the things that we do on a normal everyday basis on top of all the things that we're doing to build our homestead into a more productive, more self-sufficient, more self-reliant system. I think the biggest accomplishment was moving, was getting out of our comfort zone, was packing up and moving away from really everything that my wife had ever known. And I've spent time living in a lot of different places and different countries and different states, so moving wasn't such a big deal for me. But all of that changes when you are doing that stuff with your own family. And this is something that we had talked about, that we had thought about for not that long. But we realized that we were ready for a change. We realized that we were ready for an adventure. We realized that we did not know if we were going to succeed or if we were going to fail. And really, we still don't. But we came to a point in our minds where we were willing to take that risk, to take that jump, to leap into the complete unknown, because we felt it would be better for us. There are a lot of people out there who spend 5, 6, 7 years searching for their perfect homestead property. There are people out there who think that if I go to one more conference on my hobby, or if I go read one more book, or if I talk to one more expert in this area, then I will feel like I can make the jump. And I have no problem with that if you're being honest with yourself. If you're being honest with yourself, and that's really what you need to do in order to start a new business, to make a move, to change jobs, then great. You are taking the steps necessary to make that change. But if you are lying to yourself, and you've been looking for the perfect place for 7 or 8 years, then it's probably time to get honest with yourself and either realize that you're never going to make the move, that you're never going to restore that car that's sitting in the driveway, or you're never going to start in martial arts, or you're never going to try that some sort of cooking competition, whether it be at the fair to enter your pies. Everybody has a different goal or a different dream that they talk about, or maybe don't talk about. Maybe they just dream about it in private. But there comes a point where you need to act on it. And what really helped me get to the point where I was ready to act on it versus just think about it, talk about it, and learn about it was, how do I want my children to view me in the future? Do I want them and other people to think of me as the person who just talked about doing something? Or do I want them to see the example of somebody doing something without fear of failing, without fear of it being a mistake, but to jump off into doing what you think is best, sink or swim? And that is the type of example I want my children to have. Because I truly believe that unless you are willing to get out there and take risks and follow what's best for you, that you will fall into the ordinary system and be just like everybody else. And maybe being just like everybody else is good enough for you. Maybe living the same exact life as your neighbor and the neighbor across the street and the neighbor 3 blocks down. makes you happy and makes you feel content. But more than likely it doesn't. And if it doesn't, you need to start thinking about moving away from where you're at, from being stagnant. Because if you're not moving forward, that doesn't mean the world stops or time stops, because time keeps going. No matter what frame of mind you are, no matter how good you're feeling, no matter how bad you're feeling, no matter how young your kids are, those things don't matter to time. It just keeps rolling on. In fact, that may be where the true fight is, against time. But I can look back now and realize that I made a decision 2 years ago for my family to start completely living a different lifestyle, to leave our friends, leave our families, and start a complete new adventure with our family. And at this point, 2 years later, I can say these 2 years have been a success. Not without trial, not without difficulty, not without trying to learn a lot of new things on the run. But at the same time, that is fulfilling. We knew nothing of goats when we got goats last year, but we knew that we wanted them, and we knew the benefits that they could add to our property. We knew that they could help the pastures and help regenerate the land. We knew that eventually we'd be able to get milk from them. We knew that we'd be able to have goat kids and either use them for selling to make money. But either way, it's an investment in the future. We knew nothing about getting ducks. We knew nothing about chickens. I shouldn't say nothing, but I will say very confidently, very little. But you know what? The best way to learn is when you're doing something. Know enough so that the animal's not going to die within the first month, and after that, you can kind of figure it out as you go along. And I think it's the same way with a lot of things. A lot of things, until you take that step, until you start moving forward, you're not going to know. You could read every book there is about goats, but I never would have understood the personality that they have or how they react to you and how friendly they are had I not had any. And granted, not all goats are that way. We probably lucked out on the goats that we have. But I never would have, no matter how many books I read, understood how much they will interact with human beings. So I guess what I'm trying to say is a little lesson that I have learned over the last 2 years. And it's a lesson that I learned from my parents. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to completely and utterly fail. Many times we learn more from completely failing than we will ever learn from sitting and binge watching Netflix. We will learn more from getting out and doing anything than we will learn from sitting around watching the news. So, please take this into consideration. Please be honest with yourself. Are you lollygagging around, or are you really putting yourself in the best position by going to one more convention or reading one more magazine or meeting one more person? You need to come to a point where you go for it. or you realize that you don't want to go for it. We as human beings are way more resilient than we realize. We can deal without many of the creature comforts that we are used to dealing with. So don't be afraid. Get out there and start making the moves, start making the preparations that you need to make to advance forward and do what's best for you and your family. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to this quick Commute Cast. I hope you get something out of it. If you would like, I would appreciate the feedback, whether it's negative, positive, or you have ideas for future shows. You can email me at evervigilantpodcast@gmail.com, or you can follow me or DM me on Twitter at @TheEverVigilant. Thanks again for listening. Remember, faith, family, freedom. Be safe.